There are certain people you don't exactly choose to have in your life. They just show up with someone you love, and suddenly they're part of the deal. For me, that person was Lauren. Technically, she was my wife Claire's best friend. They'd known each other since college, shared dorm rooms, late-night breakdowns, bad relationships, first jobs, all of it. The kind of history that makes someone permanent, whether you like it or not. So Lauren was always around. Birthdays, holidays, random dinners, group trips. If Claire was there, Lauren was usually not far behind. And for a long time, I tolerated her. Not because I enjoyed her company, but because Claire did. And Claire is the kind of person who sees the best in people. She's patient, kind, and incredibly forgiving, sometimes to a fault. Where I tend to notice patterns, she tends to give people a benefit of the doubt. Lauren benefited from that. On the surface, Lauren was exactly the kind of person people gravitate toward. She was outgoing, energetic, confident in a way that filled a room the second she walked into it. She laughed loudly, told animated stories, and always seemed to be at the center of attention. People liked her. But if you spent enough time around her, really paid attention, you started to notice something else. Her compliments didn't quite land right. They always sounded fine on the surface, polite and friendly, even supportive. But there was something underneath, a second layer, a tone. Like the words were doing one thing, but the intention was doing another. "You're so brave for wearing that," she'd say. "I love how low maintenance you are. You just don't care what people think, and I admire that." Individually, none of those things sound bad, but put together and paired with the way she said them, they started to feel off, like you were being complimented and criticized at the same time. And the worst part, if you ever tried to call it out, she had an instant defense. "That's not what I meant," she'd say, smiling sweetly. "You're overthinking it." And just like that, you'd look like the problem. So most people didn't push back, including Claire. She'd laugh it off, brush it aside, assume good intentions, and for the most part, I followed her lead. Until the wedding. Lauren's wedding wasn't just a wedding, it was an event. 3 full days of events, each one carefully planned, themed, and, of course, assigned its own dress code. At first, I thought it sounded kind of fun. Over the top, sure, but hey, people go all out for weddings. It's their moment. What I didn't realize was how exhausting it would be. Day 1 started with what the invitation called an intimate dinner. That should have been my first red flag. The dinner didn't even start until 9 p.m. on a Thursday. By the time people arrived, found their seats, and Lauren made her dramatic entrance, it was already close to 10. And she didn't just walk in, she arrived like she was stepping onto a stage. Everyone clapped. She smiled, soaking it in. Then came the speeches, then the food, then more speeches. Every part of the night felt stretched out, like it was designed to last as long as possible. What should have been a simple dinner turned into a 3-hour production. By the time we finished eating, I was drained. I checked my watch more than once, already thinking about work the next morning. Then Lauren stood up and clapped her hands together, practically glowing with excitement. "Okay, everyone, let's go dancing." Of course there was dancing. I leaned toward Claire. "We're not staying for that, right?" She gave me a look, half guilty, half relieved. "No, we can't. It's a weekday." So we found Lauren, told her we had to head out, and gave the usual polite explanation. She smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. "Oh, okay," she said. "You missed out, though." There was something in the way she said it. Not enough to call out, just enough to feel. "I'm sure it'll be great," Claire said kindly, and we left. That should have been the end of it. But the next morning, Lauren made sure it wasn't. Day 2 started with brunch. We walked in, still a little tired, hoping for something low-key. Lauren spotted us immediately. "Oh my God," she said loudly, drawing attention as she approached. "You guys missed so much last night." Claire smiled politely. "Yeah, we had to get up early." Lauren laughed, shaking her head. "It was insane. Everyone stayed. Even my grandma was dancing. The kids, too. You wouldn't believe it." There was a pause after that, a deliberate one. Just long enough for the implication to settle in. You should have stayed. You missed out. Everyone else managed. I smiled.
Sounds like a great time. And that was it. I let it go. At the time. The rest of that day was a blur of outfits, ceremonies, and constant social interaction. 2 separate ceremonies, each with its own vibe, its own expectations, its own dress code. By that point, Claire had changed outfits multiple times, hair redone, makeup reapplied, again and again. I could see the fatigue setting in. Honestly, I felt it too. We're not big event people. We show up, we support, but this level of constant activity, it was draining. Still, we stuck it out, because that's what you do for people you care about. By the time day 3 rolled around, we were completely exhausted. The final event was, of course, another brunch. Claire woke up early, again. She got ready, again. 4th outfit, 4th time doing her hair and makeup. I watched her, and I could tell she was running on effort alone. "We don't have to go," I told her. She shook her head. "It's the last one. We should." So we went. We arrived right on time, stepping into the same perfectly curated atmosphere Lauren had maintained all weekend. Lauren stood near the entrance, greeting guests like she was hosting a red carpet. When she saw us, she lit up. "Oh, hi, babe," she said, stepping toward Claire. Then she paused, looked her up and down. That pause, it was intentional. "Wow," she said slowly, "you look comfy." That word, comfy. On paper, it's harmless, maybe even nice, but tone changes everything. And her tone, it wasn't kind. It was judgment. It was dismissive. It was a subtle jab wrapped in something that sounded like a compliment. Claire smiled anyway, because that's who she is. "Thanks," she said lightly, but I saw it. That tiny shift in her expression, that almost invisible flicker of discomfort, and something in me settled. I didn't react, didn't call Lauren out, didn't make it a moment, because people like her, they thrive on reactions. Instead, I remembered. Claire brushed it off later. "She's just stressed," she said. "Weddings make people act weird." Maybe, or maybe that was just Lauren with a bigger stage, because it wasn't just that one comment. It was the pattern, the little digs, the subtle comparisons, the way she made people feel slightly off balance, then denied it. And that's when I realized something. Lauren had been playing this game for years, and no one had ever played it back. So I made a decision, quietly, carefully. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to create drama for Claire. I was just going to mirror her. Same tone. Same delivery, same kind of compliments, just enough to make her feel exactly what Claire had been feeling all along. And the best part, she wouldn't be able to call it out, because if she did, she'd have to admit what it really was. And I had a feeling she wasn't ready for that.
I didn't start right away. That's the thing about people like Lauren. They expect reactions. Immediate ones, a raised eyebrow, an awkward laugh, maybe a defensive comment. That's how they measure success. That's how they know they've landed the hit. So, I gave her nothing. For a while. Life went back to normal after the wedding. Work picked up, routine settled, and Lauren drifted back into her usual role, showing up at group dinners, birthday parties, and the occasional weekend hangout. And just like before, the comments continued. Subtle, polite, just sharp enough to stick. "Claire, I wish I could be as low maintenance as you. You're so confident not caring what people think. That's such a bold choice. I could never." Each one delivered with that same easy smile, that same tone that made it impossible to call out without sounding overly sensitive. Claire handled it the way she always did. She smiled, she laughed, and she let it go. But I didn't. I kept track. Not in an obsessive way, just enough to recognize the pattern, just enough to understand the rhythm of it. Lauren didn't fire randomly. She picked her moments carefully, usually when there were other people around, when the comment could land and disappear before anyone had time to process it. So, I waited, because timing matters. The first opportunity came about a month later at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. It was a casual place. Nothing fancy, just a long table, drinks flowing, conversations overlapping in that easy, familiar way. Lauren showed up late. Not dramatically late, not enough to make a scene, just late enough to be noticed. Everyone else was already seated. Appetizers had been ordered. The night had already started without her. She slipped into her chair with a quick, "Sorry, traffic was insane." Like that explained everything. No real apology. Just a reason. Claire smiled at her. "Glad you made it." And just like that, everyone moved on. Except me. I leaned forward slightly, keeping my tone relaxed. "I kind of admire that," I said. Lauren looked at me, surprised. "What admire?" "That you don't stress about being on time," I said. "I wish I had that mindset. I'm always worried about being late, but you just show up when you show up. It's kind of freeing." There was a pause. A small one. But enough. Her expression shifted. Just slightly. "Oh, thanks," she said. It came out more like a question than a response, and right there I saw it. The gears turning. Was that a compliment? Or wasn't it? I didn't stick around for her to figure it out. I leaned back, picked up my drink, and jumped into a different conversation like nothing had happened. That's the key. You don't linger. You don't explain. You let it sit. That was the first one. The next came a few weeks later at a house gathering. Something low-key. People in jeans, music playing softly, drinks in hand. Lauren walked in wearing a loose sweater and leggings. Totally normal, completely appropriate for the setting. She greeted Claire, then turned to me. "Hey." "Hey," I said, smiling. I let my eyes move over her outfit for just a second, mirroring exactly what she had done at that final brunch. "Wow," I said. "You look really comfortable." There it was again. Comfy. This time, I didn't even need to stretch it. Her smile froze for a fraction of a second before coming back. Thanks," she said. "I mean it," I added, keeping my tone sincere. "I like that you don't feel like you have to try too hard. It's refreshing." Claire turned away quickly, pretending to take a sip of her drink. I could see her shoulders shaking just slightly. Lauren laughed, but it didn't sound as natural as usual. "Yeah, I mean, it's just casual." "Exactly. Not everyone can pull that off." And then I moved on. Different conversation, different people. Like it hadn't happened at all. That's when it started to shift. At first, it was subtle. Lauren began arriving closer to on time. Not perfect, but noticeably improved. She started putting a little more effort into her outfits, even for casual things. And most importantly, she started watching me. Not openly, but enough that I caught it. Those quick glances after I spoke, that slight pause before she responded to anything I said, like she was trying to read between the lines. Trying to figure out where the edge was. Trying to decide if she was being complimented or something else. A few gatherings later, I added another one. We were at brunch again. Different place, different group. Lauren showed up wearing more makeup than usual. Not overdone, just clearly more effort than she typically put in. I noticed. Of course I did. When she sat down, I smiled. "You know what I like about you?" I said. She hesitated now. Just slightly. "What?" "You don't really care about vanity," I said. "Like you can go natural or more put together, and it's never like you're trying to impress anyone. That's rare." Claire kicked me lightly under the table. Lauren blinked. Thanks?" It's confidence. Not needing validation. That one lingered, because it sounded thoughtful, almost genuine. But there was just enough ambiguity to make it uncomfortable. Was I saying she usually didn't try? Was I saying she looked better before? Was this an upgrade or a backhanded comment?
She couldn't quite land on an answer. And that uncertainty? That's where everything lives. That's the space she'd been putting other people in for years. Now, she was sitting in it herself. Claire noticed the shift too. One night after we got home from a dinner, she turned to me. "Okay," she said, crossing her arms. "What are you doing?" I kept a straight face. "What do you mean?" "With Lauren," she said. "Don't act like you don't know." "I've been perfectly nice to Lauren," I said. "That's the problem. You're too nice. It's weird." I smiled. "I'm just giving her the energy she gives you." Claire shook her head, but there was a hint of a smile there. "You're impossible." "Am I wrong?" I asked. She paused, then sighed. "No." That was all I needed. Because here's the truth. I wasn't doing this just to be petty. Okay, maybe a little, but mostly, I was doing it because no one had ever held up a mirror to Lauren before. She'd spent years operating in that gray area where everything could be denied, explained away, reframed. She'd never had to sit with that uncomfortable feeling of, wait, what did they mean by that? Until now. And the best part? I didn't have to argue. I didn't have to raise my voice. I didn't have to be the bad guy. All I had to do was smile.
There's a limit to how long you can play a quiet game before it turns into something louder. For months, everything stayed in that gray area. Comments wrapped in politeness, smiles that didn't quite match the words. A constant, low-level tension that only a few of us could really feel. Lauren adapted, slowly but noticeably. She started showing up on time. Not perfectly, but close enough that it wasn't a pattern anymore. She paid more attention to how she looked, even at casual gatherings. And those little comments she used to drop so casually, they didn't disappear, but they became careful, measured, like she was thinking before she spoke now, like she was aware. And most telling of all, she started watching me. Not in an obvious way, but I'd catch it, those quick glances after I said something, that slight pause before she responded, like she was trying to decode everything, trying to figure out where the line was, trying to figure out if I was still playing the game. The answer was yes, but I was patient. And then came the night everything finally broke. We were hosting a small dinner at our place, nothing big, just a few close friends, good food, a relaxed atmosphere. Claire had spent most of the day preparing, moving around the kitchen with that focused energy she gets when she's hosting. By the time people started arriving, everything looked perfect. Warm lighting, music in the background, food laid out just right. It should have been easy. Lauren showed up exactly on time. That alone told me everything I needed to know. She stepped inside looking more put together than usual for something this casual. Hair styled, outfit carefully chosen, makeup done just enough to be noticeable. She hugged Claire. "This smells amazing," she said, and for once it sounded genuine. Then she turned to me. "Hey, hey," I said. There was a pause, small, but loaded. I could feel it, that expectation, like she was bracing herself, waiting to see what I'd say next. And for the first time in months, I said nothing. No comment, no subtle jab, just normal conversation. And that threw her off more than anything else I'd done. The entire evening she kept glancing at me, not constantly, but enough, like she was waiting for something that never came. Dinner went smoothly. People laughed, shared stories, refilled drinks. Claire looked relaxed in a way I hadn't seen around Lauren in a long time. And Lauren, she was trying. That was the surprising part. She listened more, interrupted less,
even complimented Claire without that familiar edge. "You always host so well," she said. "I don't know how you do it." Claire smiled, a little surprised. "Thanks." For a moment, I thought maybe that was it. Maybe the mirror had worked. Maybe she'd actually seen herself. But then, right at the end, it happened. Of course it did. We were wrapping up dinner, people drifting into the living room, the night winding down. Claire had stepped away and changed into something more comfortable, a soft sweater, her hair pulled back loosely. She looked relaxed, at ease, happy. Lauren noticed immediately. She tilted her head, that old expression creeping back in. "Oh, wow, you changed already? That was fast." Claire smiled. "Yeah, I just wanted to be comfortable." Lauren nodded, smiled, and then, "Well, at least you're consistent with that." There it was. Same tone, same edge, same little quiet jab. The room didn't react. It never does. But I felt it. Claire felt it too. I saw it in the way her shoulders tightened just slightly before she forced a smile. And in that moment, I knew. Nothing had really changed. She had just gotten better at hiding it. So I set my glass down, and this time, I didn't keep it subtle. I smiled, calm, steady, the same way I always did. "You know what I appreciate about you, Lauren?" The room shifted just slightly. She looked at me, cautious now. "What?" I leaned back, keeping my tone easy. "I think you're incredibly consistent," I said. "No matter what the situation is, you always manage to slip in a comment that makes things just a little uncomfortable." Silence. Real silence this time. Lauren blinked. What?" "I mean it," I continued, still calm. "Most people second-guess themselves, filter what they say, but you just go for it." Claire said quietly, "Hey," but I shook my head slightly. "It's fine," I said. "We're all friends here, right?" Lauren's expression had completely changed now. The confusion was gone, replaced with something sharper. "You think I make people uncomfortable?" she asked. "I think you sometimes disguise criticism as compliments, and for a long time no one called you on it." She let out a short laugh. "Wow, that's coming out of nowhere." "Is it?" I asked. She turned to Claire. "Do you feel that way?" Claire hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Lauren saw it. "Oh my God," she said quietly. "You do." "It's not like that," Claire said quickly. "It's just sometimes the way things come out." "The way things come out?" Lauren cut in. "I've always been like this." "I know," Claire said softly, and somehow that made it worse. Lauren looked back at me. "So what, this has been your plan, taking little digs at me for months?" "I gave you the same kind of compliments you give everyone else, nothing more." "That's not the same," she snapped. "Why not?" I asked. "Because I don't mean it like that." I held her gaze. Neither did I. That landed. Hard. For a moment she had nothing, no response, no defense, just the weight of it. She grabbed her bag. "I think I'm going to go." "Lauren?" Claire started, but she shook her head. "No, I get it." She moved toward the door, then paused. "You could have just said something," she muttered. Then she left. The door closed quietly behind her. The room stayed still for a moment. Then slowly, conversation picked back up, careful at first, then normal again. Claire turned to me. "That was a lot," she said. "Yeah," I admitted. She studied me for a second, then asked, "Are you okay?" I nodded. "Are you?" She thought about it. Then unexpectedly she smiled. "A little relieved," she said, and that was enough. Lauren didn't come around much after that. When she did, she was quieter, more careful, different. Not perfect, but real. And me? I stopped. No more comments, no more games. Because in the end, the point was never to win. It was just to make sure she finally understood what it felt like.